This podcast is sponsored by AXA Farm Insurance. AXA offers tailored cover to fit your unique needs, whether it's public liability or protection for your family home, outbuildings or farm vehicles. Based in Athlone, the AXA Farm team of agri-specialists and regional managers work together to ensure you receive the seamless support you need. Switching to AXA is easy thanks to an innovative online service that enables you to quickly and easily find the best cover for your needs. For more information, head to AXA.ie. AXA Insurance DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to the Farming Week, the podcast brought to you by Agriland and AXA, keeping you up to date with all the latest in Irish agriculture. I'm Charles O'Donnell and I'm joined this week by Kathleen O'Sullivan. Well, there's no doubt what the big news of the week is. Some exporters of Weanling calves have indicated that they may pause buying Weanlings at marts from next week on the apparent basis that the calves are not being dosed or vaccinated. Kathleen, can you tell us what's going on here and how this story has developed?
Yeah, of course, Charles. So it is understood that discussions have taken place among some Weanling exporters to temporarily pause purchasing Weanlings at marts because of certain frustrations. Agriland has been told that a number of export customers for Irish Weanlings have expressed frustration at the number of Weanlings which have not been dosed or vaccinated before being sold at the mart. The potential action at marts is being considered by some of the country's Weanling exporters, despite concerns from other Weanling exporters that it is not a good way to do business. It is understood that there is an opinion among some exporters that an awareness campaign targeted at Weanling producers on the importance of vaccination and herd health plans would be a more constructive step. However, it is also understood that some exporters are actively considering pausing buying Weanlings at marts from early next week. Marts contacted by Agriland have confirmed they are planning to continue Weanling sales as normal next week. Several of the marts also said that they expect larger numbers of farmer customers to attend because of the discussions that have taken place among some Weanling exporters to temporarily pause the purchasing of Weanlings at marts. Weanling exporters have, however, been urged to refrain from any possible disruption of mart sales by the Irish Cooperative Organisation Society, or ICOS. The ICOS Livestock and Environmental Services Executive, Ray Doyle, said that Irish marts have a long tradition of supporting and fully endorsing good vaccination and health protocols for all animals passing through sales. Doyle said auctioneers have actively been highlighting animals offered which have been vaccinated either through the National Beef Welfare Scheme or in their own right, and will continue to do so where asked by producers. He added that it is unfortunate that there is a threat of trade disruption at the time of peak throughput, when any such concerns should have been conveyed to farmers months ago, and not now when there is such a tight timeline to bring about immediate changes, according to Doyle. ICOS pointed out that at this time of year, Weanling sales are very important, adding that marts provide a reliable platform to move these young animals. So several of the country's main Weanling export buyers have told Agriland there is a general acknowledgement that something needs to be done to ensure Weanlings being sold have been vaccinated. But Charles, there's not full agreement that pulling out of marts is the best course of action, so we will see what further comes of this over the coming days.
Well, we'll leave that story for now, and of course you can follow developments on Agriland. But as we're recording here on Friday morning, a literal storm is brewing over Ireland. Storm Amy is approaching the country, and it comes at a time, Kathleen, when concerns have been raised over Ireland's storm preparedness.
Yeah, Charles, so storms are definitely topical today as Storm Amy, the first named storm of the 2025-26 season, has arrived. And as a result, there are a number of status orange and yellow rain and wind warnings issued by Met Éireann for across the country over the next 2 days. Met Éireann had warned that on Friday and Saturday, fallen trees, debris and loose objects displaced, and damage to power lines and power outages are possible over the course of the storm. Difficult travelling conditions and flooding may also occur. So people are definitely urged to stay safe in these conditions. And Charles, as you mentioned, this comes as the Climate Change Advisory Council has said this week that there has not yet been enough tangible action undertaken to address the significant shortcomings exposed by Storms Dara and Owen. So Storm Dara occurred in December last year. with Storm Owen following in January, and both were very destructive. The Council has called on the government to prioritise actions that will have the most impact in advance of the storm season. So launching its annual review on preparing for Ireland's changing climate this week, the Council expressed its disappointment that a cross-government review of the response to Storm Owen, expected to identify key learnings across all sectors, is overdue and remains unpublished. The Council has urged the Government to take action on the delivery of the emergency response hubs, which assist people with basic needs in the event of services outages. It also wants to see the permanent establishment of a resource extreme weather assistance scheme to support people, businesses and communities. Acknowledging what is described as the vital role that local authorities play in both preparing for and responding to severe weather events, the Council urged the Government to commit to defined annual funding for climate adaptation actions starting with Budget 2026. We then had an update on storm preparations from Minister for Housing, Local Government and Heritage, James Browne, who later this week convened a meeting of the National Emergency Coordination Group to review national preparedness for severe weather events as we enter into the storm season. At the meeting, the Minister said he emphasised the Government's total commitment to resourcing and supporting all responses to whatever challenges arise in the coming months. Minister Browne said that the review of the coordinated response to Storm Owen has now been submitted to the Government Task Force on Emergency Planning. He added that examining all aspects of the response to Storm Owen and identifying all the key lessons across all sectors, this review and its recommendations will inform responses to extreme weather events and how communities are kept safe in the future. So he said this comprehensive report is almost ready and he hopes to be in a position to publish it very shortly, Charles.
Moving on now, and this week Ireland played host to the European Commissioner for Trade, Maros Sefcovic. Commissioner Sefcovic is in charge of the EU's trade policy, so between the EU-Mercosur trade agreement and the seemingly ever-changing trading relationship with Donald Trump, the Commissioner's brief is very important to Irish farmers and agri-food businesses. So Kathleen, what did Commissioner Sefcovic have to say in Ireland this week?
Yes, so given the unprecedented events of recent months, Taoiseach and Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade Simon Harris was among those who met the Commissioner, and they discussed ongoing challenges in international trade diplomacy, including the recent EU-US deal. A key topic also, of course, is the EU-Mercosur trade deal. So the trade deal with South American countries would allow 99,000 tonnes of Mercosur beef to enter the EU at a reduced tariff rate of 7.5%. The quantity of beef under this quota will be phased in over a 5-year period. So speaking in Ireland this week, the Commissioner stood by the safeguards included in the EU-Mercosur trade agreement. He said that the Commission has worked intensively with the Irish government, but also with the governments of other EU member states who have been concerned with the Mercosur agreement and the potential impact it might have on farmers in the EU. He said that the safeguards proposed as part of the deal are unprecedented in EU trade deals and are based on very strict legal language. Here's the Commissioner speaking in Wicklow on Thursday.
Proposed is really unprecedented, far-fetched solution based on the strongest legal instrument we have at our disposal, and this is the regulation. What it says in a nutshell is that we are putting into this very strict legal language and legal obligation the precise method how we monitor the trade flows in the agri-food sector between Mercosur and the EU. We are obliged every 6 months to present detailed report to the member states, to the parliament, to all stakeholders about how the trade is evolving. If, and it's enough that this would happen in one member state, so let's say in Ireland, there is a year-to-year increase of 10% of the imports, or there is 10% drop in the price of the sensitive commodities. So then we are obliged within 5 days to propose the measures which should be adopted again very speedily within 21 days. And one of the possibilities how to act would be safeguards, so you can limit or block the trade with that sensitive commodities.
The Commissioner also met with farm representatives this week in Ireland, and following a meeting with him, the President of the Irish Creamery Milk Suppliers Association, Dennis Drennan, expressed that EU farmers are going to continue to have environmental regulations and associated costs piled up on them, he said, while beef is to be imported from Mercosur countries where environmental standards may not be as high.
We're going to move on now to a story that just broke yesterday evening, Thursday. which is that two dairy processors, Aurivo and Northern Ireland-based Dale Farm, look set to move toward what is being described as a future trading relationship. Kathleen, can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, Charles. So it is believed that members of both co-ops have been told that both businesses are keen to adopt a proactive approach to optimising market opportunities and maximising synergies in an escalating cost environment. Agriland understands that representatives from both Aurivo and Dale Farm are working together on a project to scope potential cost synergies and build on an existing relationship between the co-ops. Both Dale Farm and Aurivo have been keen to communicate to their respective members that both co-ops have a shared ethos and also share the same core values. It is understood that discussions are continuing between the co-ops as to how they could work together to maximise synergies that would deliver a long-term benefit to shareholders. The fact that the Sligo headquartered co-op and the Northern Ireland headquartered co-op are keen to explore how they might grow their trading relationship highlights the pressures facing co-ops in the current market environment. In its 2024 annual report, Aurivo highlighted the challenge posed by ongoing geopolitical issues and inflationary pressures. Aurivo, which is owned by 10,000 farmers and their families, reported a group turnover up 13.5% to €725.1 million and increased operating profits of €17 million for 2024. Aurivo, which acquired the Arbonne liquid milk and butter business just a year earlier, has a milk pool of 516 million litres. Meanwhile, Dale Farm reported a 14% year-on-year jump in turnover to £722.4 million for the year ending March 2025. The co-op, which is owned by 1,300 dairy farmer members, also saw its net pre-tax profit increase by 7% to £31.9 million, up from £29.8 million a year earlier. Dale Farm has previously expressed its ambition to expand its milk pool in Northern Ireland by up to 1% per annum over the next decade.
Moving sectors now to the tillage sector. And with Budget 2026 just next week, there is serious talk now about what farmers in the sector need to stay afloat in light of very low prices against high input costs. There is a growing awareness now that the sector is in a very serious situation, and Kathleen, members of the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Agriculture were left in no doubt of that this week.
So the gap between total costs and product prices is driving tillage farmers to exit the sector. TDs and senators were warned this week, Charles. So challenges facing the sector were laid out starkly to members of the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Agriculture and Food by representatives from various farming organisations this week. From the outset, the committee chair, Deputy Andreas Moynihan, acknowledged that key issues such as poor grain prices, imports and the level of support under the Common Agricultural Policy were all factors currently impacting on the tillage sector. According to industry representatives, the sector faces many challenges and financial aid is needed. One of the key themes that was highlighted by many of the farming organisations during the meeting was the expensive struggle by growers to access and secure land. Many pointed to the pressure that derogation is placed on the availability of land, with James Kelly, president of the Irish Grain Growers Group, highlighting that the area under tillage has fallen 40% in 40 years in Ireland. One reason for this, he believes, is that tillage farmers have been priced out when it comes to land rental costs. Separately, Kieran McAvoy, Irish Farmers Association Grain Chair, also told TDs and senators that since 2012, the sector has shrunk to sit between 300,000 and 335,000 hectares. One key message delivered by tillage industry leaders to members of the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Agriculture and Food was that government support is essential if the sector is to survive. The Irish Grain Growers Group is seeking €92 million per annum over 5 years, while the Irish Farmers Association has called for the introduction of a €250 per hectare tillage survival payment, which would total $65 million annually over a 5-year period. Politicians were left in little doubt at the committee that Budget 2026 could prove a turning point for many tillage farmers, Charles. And last month, Taoiseach Simon Harris told Agriland that he intends to make progress on commitments of providing funding to the tillage sector in the budget. The Taoiseach had said he recognises that the sector is in crisis. He said that there have been a number of particular, often international factors that have really hit that sector. And he said government has tried to provide some degree of support, but it needs to be more. And Charles, certainly a lot of sectors will be looking for targeted supports in the budget. A Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine, Martin Hayden, has said he has a huge amount of areas that require funding. So we wait to see what this upcoming Tuesday, October 7th, brings when Budget 2026 is announced.
Yeah, for sure, Kathleen. But we're going to return to agribusiness now, and Tirlán has said that it has paid off the exchangeable bond that it issued 3 years ago when the business was established. The bond was issued to fund the transaction with Glanbia plc that led to the formation of Tirlán, with Tirlán saying that the bond has been closed out, effectively bringing the process of establishing the business to an end. So what did that entail this week, Kathleen?
Yeah, Charles. So Tirlán has announced that it has raised €230.3 million from the placement of 17 million of its shares in Glanbia plc as part of the process of closing its exchangeable bond of €250 million. This followed an earlier announcement this week that Tirlán would begin the process of closing out the bond, which was issued in January 2022, to raise funds as part of the transaction with Glanbia plc that resulted in the formation of Tirlán. To fund the repurchase of the bond, Tirlán placed 17 million shares in Glanbia plc with institutional investors this week at a share price of €13.55 per share. The proceeds of €230.3 million from the share placement were used to fund the concurrent repurchase and cancellation of the outstanding exchangeable bond. The bonds were repurchased at a price of €262.5 million, reflecting their market value. According to Tirlán, the remaining balance of the bonds above what was raised through the share placement was covered using existing co-op resources set aside for this purpose. Glanbia participated in the share placement by purchasing and cancelling 7.38 million shares, representing around 2.9% of the company's share capital. Following the completion of the sale of 17 million shares in Glanbia, Tirlán Co-op now holds 17.86% of the publicly quoted shares in the PLC. Tirlán remains the largest equity investor in Glanbia and continues to be a strong supporter of its strategy, the co-op said. Commenting on this process, Tirlán Chief Executive Sean Malloy said the board considered it timely to repay the bond now, thereby completing the transaction that led to the formation of Tirlán and placing the co-ops in a strong financial position, he said. According to Malloy, the co-op is now effectively debt-free as a result of this process.
Thanks, Kathleen. And that brings us to the end of this week's podcast. Just before we go, just 2 bits of housekeeping to take care of. Agriland's latest milk price tracker is now up and available on our site and app, as is the latest instalment of our Farm Safe, Farm Well series, in which farmer Betty Taylor tells us that she still feels lucky to be alive today after becoming entangled in a power takeoff 40 years ago this year. So make sure to check that out on our site and app as well. But that's where we'll leave it. Please don't forget to rate, review and follow The Farming Week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love if you could spare some time to give us 5 stars and share The Farming Week with anyone you think might be interested. From Kathleen and myself, please make sure to stay safe during Storm Amy and all the best.
This podcast is sponsored by AXA Farm Insurance. AXA offers tailored cover to fit your unique needs, whether it's public liability or protection for your family home, outbuildings or farm vehicles. Based in Athlone, the AXA Farm team of agri-specialists and regional managers work together to ensure you receive the seamless support you need. Switching to AXA is easy thanks to an innovative online service that enables you to quickly and easily find the best cover for your needs. For more information, head to AXA.ie. AXA Insurance Stack is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.